Harley Davidson is using that as an excuse, and I don't like that because I've been very good to Harley Davidson, and they used it as an excuse. And I think the people that ride Harleys are not happy with Harley Davidson, and I wouldn't be either.
Donald Trump just declared war on Harley Davidson, vowing to bankrupt the once iconic brand after they stubbornly ditched American values and chased foreign profits. He blasted their overseas shift as betrayal, calling it the beginning of the end. Now trapped between outdated tradition and cringe innovation, Harley's collapse feels inevitable. And you know what really sets people off? When a company that's been screaming "America" louder than a bald eagle on the 4th of July suddenly turns around and says, "Yeah, we're going to go global now." That's exactly what Harley Davidson did in 2018. They didn't just disappoint their customer base, they full-on body-slammed their legacy. For over a century, Harley sold us this image of rebellion, grit, steel, and freedom. But the minute things got a little tough, boom! They hit the eject button on their American roots and shipped production overseas. No warning, no shame, just corporate cowardice wrapped in a press release. And oh boy, did Trump react. I mean, the guy basically ran his whole presidential campaign on Made in America. And here comes Harley, of all companies, saying, "Hey, we're going to make some bikes in Thailand now." You can bet your last spark plug that Trump wasn't having any of that. He straight up nuked them on Twitter, calling their move a betrayal. And honestly, can you blame him? Harley wasn't just moving production. They were flipping the bird to every leather-jacketed, flag-waving rider who thought they were buying into American legacy. And Trump? He didn't sugarcoat it. He said Harley's move would mark the beginning of the end for the company. He wasn't wrong. Investors? Yeah, they weren't thrilled either. Harley's stock nosedived by 18% that same year. 18%. That's not a dip. That's a somebody hit the emergency brake moment. The market basically looked at Harley and said, "You sold out, and we're out." This wasn't just a PR issue. It was a full-on identity meltdown. What kind of brand gets praised by the president in February 2017 as a true American icon, then gets dragged through the mud by the same guy a year later? A confused one, a weak one, a Harley one. And here's where the real circus starts. Trump throws tariffs on foreign steel and aluminum to protect American jobs, right? So what does Harley do in response? Do they double down and say, "Yeah, let's keep jobs in the US"? Nope. They go full flight mode and set up shop in Thailand. That's right, Thailand. As if that's going to scream freedom to your average Harley diehard in Sturgis, South Dakota. They had the audacity to say it was a strategic move to protect their access to the European market. You mean the market that isn't riding around with eagle tattoos and denim vests? That market? Let's not forget, the EU jacked tariffs up on US motorcycles from 6% to 31% in June 2018. Sure, that sucks. But you know what sucks more? Harley using that as an excuse to ditch America like a bad Tinder date. And to add insult to injury, they closed their Kansas City plant, an actual US manufacturing facility, with real American workers. Instead of creating jobs, they tossed those folks out and made a big show about ramping up production in York, Pennsylvania. But surprise, that was mostly smoke and mirrors. Because while all that patriotic PR was rolling out, they were quietly boosting operations in Brazil and India too. Yeah, nothing screams American muscle like outsourcing to countries 8,000 miles away. Now here's the real kicker. Harley told everyone, "Don't worry, the Thailand factory is just for international markets." But plot twist, bikes from that plant were spotted right here in the US. Yup, imported, foreign-built Harleys being sold to the same American consumers who were promised red, white, and blue steel. You can't make this up. It's like finding out your apple pie was made in a Chinese factory and shipped back in a microwavable box. Trump saw right through it. He called them out hard, saying if they wanted to abandon US soil, they'd face severe taxes selling back into the country. And honestly, that was the least they deserved. You walk away from your roots, you don't get to keep cashing in on the brand loyalty you just betrayed. Now let's talk about that sweet stock crash. After the whole Thailand drama and Trump's digital beatdown, Harley's market value fell harder than a drunk guy at Bike Week. Investors jumped ship, and suddenly the brand that used to stand for tough was looking like the corporate version of a soggy paper bag. That old-school grit? Gone, replaced with boardroom buzzwords and excuses. And this isn't even the first time Harley has flirted with collapse. Back in the 1980s, Japanese imports were kicking their teeth in. They only survived because the US government slapped tariffs on the competition, and Harley went all in on American craftsmanship. But now, they're trying to pull the exact opposite. No wonder their core customers are furious. You think a guy who's been riding a Harley since '76 is going to be cool with a silent EV bike made in Southeast Asia? Please, here's a number that should terrify Harley's boardroom. In 2017, 61% of Harley's sales came from the US. Let that sink in. More than half their revenue was from Americans. But instead of appreciating that and building loyalty, Harley said, let's chase the other 50% instead. Their plan? Shift 50% of sales internationally. They weren't just looking to grow, they were looking to jump ship. And guess what happened? They alienated their base in the process. And as if things weren't bad enough, Harley's leadership decided now was a great time to launch electric bikes, ramp up global branding, and put out corporate statements about sustainability and social responsibility. Oh, cool. Thanks, Harley. Because nothing says badass biker legacy like a greenwashed press release and a silent electric scooter that sounds like a blender. Instead of leaning into what made them iconic, they panicked and tried to rebrand themselves as a lifestyle company with international flair. And it backfired, spectacularly. Meanwhile, conservative, blue-collar riders, the very people who kept Harley alive for decades, watched the brand do a 180 in real time. The rebellion? Gone. The rumble? Replaced with a fake engine sound. The loyalty? Completely shredded. All because Harley chose to chase foreign markets and global identity over staying true to the people who built their empire. And don't forget, this whole implosion started because Harley didn't want to pay higher tariffs. Instead of facing the storm and standing by their workforce, they caved. Fast. They bent the knee to foreign markets, abandoned American factories, and tried to spin it like they were being strategic. But there's nothing strategic about betrayal. There's nothing visionary about becoming a sellout. Harley had one job: stay American, stay loyal, and stay loud. Let's get one thing straight. Harley didn't just lose customers. They lost a damn army. Trump's base? The factory workers, the veterans, the middle America folks who basically put Harley Davidson on the map? Yeah, they felt sucker punched. These were the same people who kept Harley alive when Japanese imports nearly killed it in the 80s. And how did Harley repay them? By chasing profits overseas like a clueless intern chasing Wi-Fi in a jungle. For these folks, Harley wasn't just a motorcycle. It was a lifestyle, a legacy, a freaking family heirloom passed down like a sacred artifact. They weren't just buying two wheels and a loud engine. They were buying into an identity. And then suddenly that identity came with a Made in Thailand label and a politically correct mission statement. Wonderful. Enter Trump, megaphone in hand, ready to turn Harley's betrayal into a rallying cry. And it worked. He said exactly what everyone else was thinking but didn't say out loud. Harley sold out. Period. And from that point, Harley wasn't just a business. It was a cautionary tale of what happens when you forget who you're actually serving. The backlash wasn't just about economics. This was emotional warfare. This was about a company divorcing its audience mid-marriage and then sending them an electric scooter as a parting gift. And nothing hits quite like emotional betrayal, especially when it's coded in corporate buzzwords like sustainability and inclusive design. Yeah, try telling a guy with a bald eagle tattoo and a camo vest that his next bike is gonna run on lithium and feelings. Let us know how that goes. And if you're loving this kind of brutal truth, hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next corporate meltdown we expose. And because Harley clearly hadn't alienated enough people, they decided to throw in a few more landmines. They leaned into globalism, hard. Suddenly, Harley was all about climate goals, global supply chains, and reaching emerging markets. Meanwhile, Trump was busy dragging India into the spotlight for slapping a 100% import tariff on American motorcycles. And what did Harley do? Did they fight it? Did they stand up for American trade rights? Nope. They caved, folded like a cheap tent in a monsoon. They basically said, "Yes, sir, we'll just keep moving production until someone loves us again." No one did. That once ironclad bond between Harley and its blue-collar backbone shattered. Trump framed them as traitors, and honestly, Harley practically handed him the script. Between outsourcing, sucking up to foreign markets, and pushing their woke rebrand, they lost the plot and their audience. But just when you think the mess couldn't get messier, Harley decided to launch electric bikes. You know, the kind that whisper instead of roar. One model even came with synthetic engine sounds. Yep, fake revs, pre-programmed audio pretending to be power. That's like replacing a rock concert with elevator music and hoping no one notices. The signature potato potato rumble that every Harley rider brags about? Replaced by sound engineers with a speaker system. Seriously, who asked for that? And wait, it gets better. They started talking about AI safety features and smart dashboards. Because when you think Harley Davidson, obviously you think Tesla on two wheels. Their tech ambitions were about as tone-deaf as putting Siri on a chainsaw. The old-school riders weren't having it. These are people who change their own oil and fix bikes with duct tape and rage. They don't want a Bluetooth-connected handlebar that asks how their mental health is doing. Then came the dealerships. No longer grimy, noisy sanctuaries of torque and testosterone. Nope, now they're turning into hipster showrooms. Think Apple Store with a leather jacket, mood lighting, scented candles, branded lattes. And yes, yoga classes. Because when your brand's in free fall, nothing fixes it like Downward Dog next to a $30,000 cruiser. The younger crowd didn't care. Harley's dream of winning over millennials and Gen Z with electric bikes and smart tech flopped harder than a brick in a kiddie pool. Rising rents, crushing student loans, inflation through the roof, and Harley thinks people in their 20s want to drop $20,000 plus on a lifestyle toy? Get real. These kids are barely paying for rent, and Harley's out here selling them rebellion in a box with financing options. They're not buying it. Literally. Harley, desperate to fix the PR catastrophe, pulled a classic move: vague promises. They said they're committed to reviving American skilled labor, with, of course, zero actual details. No dates, no locations, no budget. Just empty optimism and some slick phrasing. That's like saying you're going to run a marathon while holding a Big Mac. Cool idea. Let us know when you start training. They tried to put on a brave face, said they were evolving, embracing the future. But let's be honest, this wasn't evolution. This was panic in a necktie. Harley had no clue how to bridge the gap between a legacy that screams Americana and a strategy that screams global tech startup. The harsh truth? Harley didn't just fumble the ball. They ran it into their own end zone and spiked it. And Trump, always looking for a headline, simply pointed at the mess and said, "Told you so." His attacks didn't start Harley's problems, but they turned those problems into front-page news. Now Harley's stuck on a tightrope, wobbling between the past and the future. One foot in nostalgia, the other in tech fantasy, and down below, a pit full of angry riders, confused investors, and journalists with popcorn. They're trying to play both sides, keep the rugged outlaw image while rolling out electric scooters with AI updates. It's not working, not even a little. They were once saved by patriotic pride in the 1980s. Now they're being shredded by that same pride turned against them. Irony at its finest. The Harley name still means something, but less and less with every outsourced Bolt, every muted EV, and every failed PR campaign. They're not bankrupt on paper, but culturally, they're spiraling fast. Because when your most loyal customers don't recognize you anymore, it's not a brand crisis. It's a funeral in slow motion.